world develops.
So is that like more of a cryptocurrency topic right now, or that's more just like?
That's part of it. Yeah. With crypto, we're now able to program money, right? And we can program money to do what we want. If we want it to be backed by gold, we can do that. If we want it to be backed by dollars, we can do that. If we want it to be backed by a basket of assets, we can do that. If we want to do the carrying capacity of an area of land, how much value is in that, and have a currency that's valued by that. All kinds of cool creative things. And if you want to increase people's health, you can create a currency that optimizes and incentivizes people to be healthy, right? So we're exploring what money is, how it's fucked up the world, and then how we can unfuck the world with money.
Give me some background on when you first started getting interested in money.
Okay. I have a farm in North Carolina, in the mountains of western North Carolina, outside of Asheville, and we were teaching homesteading and permaculture, wilderness skills, and we had a bunch of people living there, and they were paying rent to be there, but they were also getting paid to work on the land. And so I was like, how do I disintermediate the state and create an internal economy so that we don't have to or you know, you're getting labored, your labor tax, whatever that's called, and then you're paying rent. Like, there's no need to tax both of those events. I'm having to pay tax on the rent that you're paying me. So it's like, we're doing one thing, but the government's getting two payments off of it. That doesn't make any sense. Yeah, so we had this farm, and you know, we're paying people to live there, and they were paying us to live there, and we were paying them to work there. And so I was like, how do I create a currency that we can use as an accounting mechanism? And so I looked at time dollars, Ithaca cash, the Veer, you know, in Germany, pre-Weimar Republic. And this was circa 2010, and Bitcoin had just kind of happened, but it was still like a very underground thing. And I didn't quite understand it then. I was like, okay, a digital coin, great. You know, who's going to use this complicated system of finding, you know, ledger addresses and how to copy? Like, all of it was just a pain. And then circa 2012, end of 2012, 13, I was like, oh, this is what it is. It's actually an open ledger, and it's actually doing all of these things. So I was like, we can actually build governance with this. We can build transparency. We can create a token that could be used internally and use that as a token of measure, but we could do so much more. So it blossomed to be so much bigger than my little farm community model, right? I was like, oh, that works as a business, but now if we add currency and governance and merit on it, this is a template for the world, right? So I went and I sort of championed that and created permacredits in 2014. Oh, before that, I took a briefcase of cash I dug up from my backyard, and I went to MIT and bought it from a bunch of nerds that were like really into it, you know, like $50,000 when it was like $20 to $80. One day it went up like in a whole bunch, you know, and so we just had a spread there. And I was super excited, you know, this was like money that nobody could touch, right, except for me. Little did I know, you know, I would be hacked later on. But so I architected this currency that was incorporating merit, governance, and permaculture, and based on the foundations of permaculture, but taking permaculture and making it economic permaculture. And then, so I did this whole architecture, started giving talks on it, and then, you know, I got well known in the crypto circles for that, and I spoke everywhere around the world, and the chief architect of the Euro's convergence and exchange mechanisms, Bernard Lietaer, his people found me, and they're like, you need to meet Bernard. He's talking about the same thing you've been talking about. You guys are simpatico. So then his people were like, you know, let's get you in touch. And so we did. And then from there, you know, big things happened. Well, so I had saved up a bunch of money, and right in 2008, I had money in the stocks, my wife had money in the stocks, and I was like, I saw it coming, and I was like, this is a dangerous situation. So I took all of our money out of stocks, and I put them all into gold at $200 an ounce. And like, I went down the street here and I went and bought physical gold. I never bought paper gold or any of that, right? So I went and just collected like a pirate's hoard of gold and silver and so then the stock market collapsed and gold went from 200 to 1200. So I was like, yes, right? And then the housing market collapsed and all of the property values went down. So I turned that gold into property and bought our farm, right? And then and then put a bunch of money away like a pirate, like literally gold and cash, not freeze dried, saran wrapped and vacuum sealed, you know, and buried it in a bunch of spots, you know, and I was like, yes. And then like a pirate, you know, that's real value. Like nobody can go and take that from you unless they know where it's at, right? And it's not accounted for on the ledgers and all of this stuff. So, and I was like, if I can take that money and then go and put it into digital money, like that makes sense, especially when I understood what Bitcoin really was. And so I did really, really well with that. But I only did that when I understood the ledger technology and what a distributed ledger was and what the potential was and what we could actually do with it as a culture. Right?
Did you get into it like directly through the Bitcoin white papers, or did you have a community or forums or anybody teaching?
No, nobody, just straight on like looking at what was going on, you know, and trying to figure out where I could get some, you know, and I went onto local Bitcoins, right? At that time, it was not like a, you know, FBI honey trap, and I found somebody, and they're like, you just wire me the money, and I was like, yeah, fine, why not, you know, because it was so early, like nobody was doing any kind of scams. It was like everybody was, at least the people that I interacted with, everybody was just really excited, like this new potential technology, and it was all nerds and people like, no money was in it. It was just people that were into the tech of it, you know? And so you could call anybody and be like, yeah, so cool, this and that. There was no, this is a way we can scam people, right? People hadn't figured out yet that was what you could do with it. Yeah. They just knew that you could buy it and go take it on Silk Road and buy drugs with it. And that's what made it popular, and that's what the price went up so much for it. But that meant that you could actually use it for real transactional value and storage of value. And then when it went up so fast, I was like, this is gonna go up even faster, right? So I bought a whole bunch. And then I started telling everybody my idea on like how we could use it to change the world. Because Bitcoin itself is not decentralized. And even back then in 2014, I was saying that, and nobody liked me because I was saying that. I was like, it's no different than Ripple, right? Because Ripple, it's run by a board of directors. There's like 6 of the guys, and they make decisions, and you know, you can either use their system or not, right? Bitcoin, same thing. 6 guys code the whole thing. If they want to change the code, they can do it, and we have no recourse. So like, how decentralized really is it? Or the Chinese could have 51% of the mining and decide they're going to fork it one day, you know? And then Ethereum, same thing. It's like, oh, we just had the DAO and it screwed everybody. We'll just erase that, move backwards, and fork it, right? Yeah. Nobody had to say. Sure, at that time everybody's like, yes, please, so we don't, you know, have to suffer from the $60 million hack and this big blemish on the whole future of the DAO. But it's really not as decentralized as everybody think. Yeah. So I was like, how do we really truly decentralize it? And we do that by creating a structure for it, which is the opposite of decentralization. But if you think about it, if you create a vessel or a vehicle or a corporation, and then you decentralize the governance of it, because that's the real decentralization, is the governance, the control of it. And nobody's really done that properly yet. There have been attempts, but nobody's really pulled it off properly.
Yeah, that's a very hard problem. So do you see cryptocurrency and blockchain as something that's going to radically change the world order, or do you see it as a real revolutionary thing, or do you see it as a continuation of the same order and more of a tool? That question makes sense?
Yeah.
Like, do you see it as a revolution in and of itself, or do you see it as a tool within a bigger revolution?
It's a tool for a revolution, and I don't know that people are really up for it.
What kind of revolution are you talking about?
Well, like a sovereignty play, a sovereignty revolution, right?
Yeah.
I think Loki from the Marvel universe is pretty much spot on when he's like, humans just want to be ruled.
Right.
Because if they don't want to take accountability. If they did, how many people really care about data privacy? It's like a small percentage. How many people really care about your currency and maintaining control of your currency? They go and trust banks. They're provided a service, you know, and the more services that are provided on your behalf, and the more willing you are to just be like, oh, serve me, the less free you are, right? And so there's a small subset of the human species that wants to have control and operational security of their family, of their land, of their, you know, liberty is sort of like a dying thing at this point, which sadly, like, I don't believe that. I personally want a self-sovereign system that we have that revolution, and I think it's coming inevitably, simply because of all of the corruption. The whole system is completely corrupt, all the way down to the local municipal level, you know, and so it is going to collapse, and they just keep kicking the can down the field, hoping that it doesn't collapse now. That's somebody else's problem. But it will, and it's probably going to happen in the next 5 years, from where I'm sitting. And so when Bitcoin comes out, and this technology comes out, yes, there's a whole bunch of libertarians and people who are like, finally, we can disintermediate the banks. We can take control back, right? The barrier of entry for creating money is gone, just like the record labels, just like movie labels, movie studios. And so, yes, and then there's a few people who are in there doing that. I was one of those people, still am. And then everybody's like, but wait, we can make millions and millions of dollars creating all kinds of ridiculous fucking ideas, things that'll never be valuable, things that'll never provide true change. And so that's when Wall Street came in. And then they're like, we're gonna make this just another way of making lots of money. And now we've got CBDCs, which are the central banking digital currencies, which are literally the beast system. So the technology can be used to enslave us, or it can be used to free us. And I don't know how many people are like actually waving the banner of free, you know? I am.
Yeah. Maybe can you expand on that a little more?
How so?
Like, how do you see the sides? How do you see the difference between, like, can you give an example of like what using the technology for freedom would actually look like in comparison to the central digital bank currencies?
Can we get you to move